Hi, whoever's here, say hello. I'll wait a couple minutes. I know I usually am a couple minutes late and I'm starting right on time tonight. So I'll wait a couple minutes for more people to come in and join us. I'm very casual tonight, as you can see, and I'll explain a little bit about that. So if you're out there, please send me a hello in the comments so I know you're there. And Ms. Wang from Southern California, hello. Thank you for joining me tonight. It's great to see everyone. Always so much fun to be here. And I have some really fun stuff to talk about tonight. I know we had a good time last week talking about 18th century fiction. And tonight we're going to talk about a book about economics and how that teaches us how we can defeat empire. LB Girl 88, good evening from Mississippi Gulf Coast. Hello to you too. Mr. White, hello, Mr. White in Easton. It's wonderful to see you too. For any of you who might be watching, oh, Mr. Keenster, hello to you too, sir. Mr. Linden, oh, I guess it's raining wherever Mr. Linden is. We had some hard rain this afternoon, but it's quite beautiful this evening. My dog Rex is here. It's great to see you, Rex. Thank you for joining us. Um, it's been an interesting day here as well. I spent my whole day in the garden. Mr. Tulloch, hi from hot and steamy Appleton, Wisconsin. How do you keep cool in your time? I should have got one out for you. A fan is how you keep cool in my time. A fan. Everyone, please hit the like button. Yes, thank you, Albie Girl 88. Please, everyone hit the like button and be sure to subscribe so more people will see my videos from the 18th century. In the 18th century, you stay cool with a fan and by not wearing very much. So it's a warm summer day here today, quite hot day, and I spent most of the day in my garden, which is something I truly love to do, and got to plant some new shrubs, trim some shrubs, and I'm most proud of a shrub that I've just planted, which is a beautiful yellow tea rose. And you can see this beautiful rose here. Unfortunately, I knocked this one off, so I have this one to show. The fragrance on these is superb. It's a beautiful tea rose. And Mr. Q, in his wisdom, we're sitting out in the patio, and he looks at me and says, "What is that? What is that smell?" It's the roses. Men's noses, you never know how they work. Mr. Davis, hello, Mr. Davis. Thank you for joining us. So I got to spend time in the garden today working in the heat and a little bit of rain in the afternoon. And as you can see, I'm getting a little dark. I purposely tonight did not put on my cream and powder to lighten my complexion. So you can see that I am getting a little tan and a little dark. In real life, certainly a little bit too dark to be a lady like 18th century Mrs. Q, who would be completely covered up in the sun or would wear use a combination of creams and powders to lighten up everything that you see, which is what I do when I do appearances. But I wanted you to see my real color tonight. So this is my real color. I'm not wearing any makeup on my face. So this is my real color, a little bit of sunburn and tan on my nose and some tan on my chest and my arms. All gets covered up when I do my true 18th century appearances. I'm wearing an actual type of chemise that a lady would be wearing at home in her private quarters. This is just, I made this out of something called handkerchief linen. If you're familiar with that, it's a very light linen. And this normally is what I wear under my stays. I have one with ruffles. Oh, you can see how dark my arms are getting. Oh my God, not suitable for an 18th century lady at all to have such dark arms. But no worries because they don't show beyond here, right? So just a little bit of that would be showing anyway. So this is normally what goes under the stays. It's, very loose and comfy. And I have one without ruffles also, which just has a plain neck and plain arms. They come either way. Men wore these as well, some with ruffles actually, depending on what they were wearing over it. And theirs would be shorter like a nightshirt. This is longer like a little dress. And you know what? These are great to sleep in your time as well. Just a really big light linen dress that you could wear around your house or you could sleep in. And I actually wear mine sometimes in the current time. I have a couple notes. Let's see. Miss Silver says, happy to be able to participate in your presentation today. I hope you're feeling well. The chemise looks comfortable for hot weather. It is. They were as sensible as possible in that time. And Ms. Wetzel, good evening from humid, rainy Philadelphia. Oh, you're not far from where I'm actually really in 18th century. I'm in New York City, which isn't far from Philadelphia, but in reality, I am broadcasting to you much closer to Philadelphia. And it's humid here. So yeah, so this would be a typical something that a lady would wear around the house, or a gentleman might wear this, just this if it's really hot, because you're in your home, nobody sees you. And that leads us to the policy at that time that if authorities wanted to search your home, they had to give you an opportunity to get dressed, because no lady is going to be seen just in this, horrifying. So you'd have to have time to put this on and put your stays on, or maybe you would put a bed jacket on over it and a scarf, something like that, because you're really not wearing much when you're wearing this, and you wouldn't want someone you don't know to see you, so intimately like this. Mr. James or Miss James, I'm not sure. Juneau James, hello from Juneau, Alaska. Hi, it's fantastic. From Alaska, which 18th century Mrs. Q doesn't know is there yet. So yes, so I have this one, and it's got the little, depending on what kind of dress I'm wearing, I might wear this with this sticking out on the outside, or just wear it around like this. These are great, ladies, to wear just watching television in your time, or if you're like sitting around and reading, if you're out in your yard. These are really, really nice. And I think I have two. I'm going to make a couple more because they're getting a little old. And a bonnet, right? So no fancy hairdo. The hair is just up, pinned up and in a bonnet off the face. And just, this would be just somebody at home, just relaxing. Ms. Kane, hi from Stephanie and Chrissy. Hi, guys. Nice to see you as well. In modern days, I love gardening, and 18th century Mrs. Q loves gardening as well. And, in colonial New York, people kept lovely gardens and were very proud of them. In front of the house was a little tiny piece of land. Where the homes were right up on the street mostly, like you see today, but maybe a little yard to the side of the steps with some shrubs or maybe a tree. And then in the back, of course, a garden where you could sit in the summer when it's hot and you might eat in your garden, or just sit and read, or Mr. Q and I maybe just sit and talk and enjoy the evening. And so you'd see people out on hot nights back in their garden. Now, if you're in the back of your house in your garden, you could be a lot less casual than if you were sitting maybe in your front stoop of your house, or standing in front of your house, and then you're going to be fully dressed because you're on a street in front of your house and everyone could see you. But if you were in the back of your house, you might be wearing this in the back of your house, maybe with a little bed jacket over it, depending if your neighbors could see out, or, what is around. But you'd be much more private in the back of your house. And we do see firsthand accounts of ladies in the 18th century talking about how they go around to a back or a side porch where nobody could see them when it's hot, and they might lift their skirts up almost to their knees to get air flowing underneath their dresses. And you wouldn't even want anyone to see your calves at that time, so you wouldn't even be able to do that publicly. You'd have to go to a place where no one could see you, and then you could pick up your skirts and like shake your skirts and get some air underneath those petticoats, because very strict as to what you showed and didn't show in public. It's also very hot for men too, when you think of the layers of clothing they're wearing. So at home they're just wearing a shirt like this. I'm going to try to get it a little even. This pattern was really beautiful, and the way this ruffle attaches with the drawstring inside is just really, really nicely finished and done. I really like this. Probably make another one. So the men might just be wearing their shirt like this too, and so they would want to put some clothes on if someone was at the door or they were going someplace, wouldn't want to be seen in just your shirt. But this would be typical underclothes for that time. So we got some nice little ruffles on the side. If I wear an over jacket or a dress that has sleeve ruffles on the dress, I wouldn't wear this, because I wouldn't want these ruffles to clash with the ruffles on the dress or lace on the dress. So this would be worn underneath something with a plain sleeve and a plain neckline. something that already doesn't have any kind of decorative thing going on. And this would, this spruces it up a little bit, makes it look nice. By the way, these are the clothes that get most often washed. So those really lovely clothes on the outside for men and women do not get cleaned as often as the clothes. So the clothes you wear next to your body get washed regularly, where the outer layer of clothes don't get washed as often. So this is what you would be washing all the time. And as I said, the stays don't go directly on your body. They go over this. So there's even a layer between your stays and you. Hi, Chrissy. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for watching tonight. I hope you enjoy it. So that's what I've been doing today is gardening and now relaxing. And it is quite warm in here. And I should have brought my little fan. I have a number of nice little, they're wooden fans with, paper on the outside, and you just fan them and fan yourself with them. But if possible, you would want to spend as much time outside when it's hot as you could. What else do I want to tell you? Oh, for those of you in the northeastern Pennsylvania or southern tier of New York area, I will be did I miss? Oh, Mr. Facemeyer from Manassas. Thank you for joining us. And Chrissy asked me to say hi to Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. So hello, Stephanie and Chrissy. Nice to have you both here. If you're in the northeastern area, northeastern corner of Pennsylvania or the southern tier of New York, this Saturday, I will be participating with the reenactment regiment I belong to, which is the 24th Connecticut Militia Reenactment Unit. And we are going to be at something along the Susquehanna River in Kingston, Pennsylvania called Riverfest. And we will be there on Saturday. I think it's 11 to 4. And I'm going to be there as Mrs. Q, and I'm going to be there with a whole bunch of different dresses and jackets and skirts, cosmetics from the 18th century, pictures of 18th century ladies, and I'll just be talking about how ladies dressed, what they wore, what kind of makeup they used, and all of that kind of stuff. One of the gentlemen in the group is going to be bringing his weapons. Somebody else is bringing ink and pens so you could learn to write the way they wrote in the 18th century. So if you're in the area, stop by and see us. It is under a tent, so it should be nice under there. And I would be happy to see you. And I'm doing some other events coming up this summer, and I'll let you know about them as they come up. So you can come out and say hello to me and also the great people in the 24th Connecticut Militia Regiment. And if you're wondering why Pennsylvania militia is from Connecticut, that's for another night I'll be telling you about, because this area of Pennsylvania was claimed by Connecticut at the time of the Revolutionary War. And interesting, the part of New York where I grew up, the southern tier of New York, was claimed by Pennsylvania. So the borders really weren't what we're used to today. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about someone who I hope you've at least heard of. You may not know a lot about him, and you'll know a little bit more about him after we finish tonight. And this is him. He is Adam Smith. And here's Mr. Adam Smith. I can turn to the side a little bit, but I think you can see him okay there. Maybe I should move my chair other way. Move my chair over a little bit the other way. Scooch in. I have so many, I'm so if you've met me, I'm really small. So I have my computer monitor and camera as low down as it will go. I have an office chair with a cushion on it, and then I have something to put my feet on because my feet don't reach the ground. And tonight I'm sitting, usually I'm standing, but tonight I did so much work in the garden that I'm sitting. So it's always kind of hard for me to prop myself up high enough. So if I'm like jiggling around and stuff, it's because I'm trying to get my too short self into a decent position. Here, but we're good here. This is a good spot right here. Mr. Hyde, greetings from Pasadena. Oh, Miss Longo is here. Hi, Miss Longo, and hello to Mr. Davis. So Mr. Adam Smith. Adam Smith is from Scotland. He was born about in the 1720s, I think 1723. And in your time, you think of him as an economist and a philosopher. And he wrote a couple of books. I only know the name of one off the top of my head, but I've them both written down here. The one you probably have heard of is An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations. also known as The Wealth of Nations, published in 1776. And the other book is The Theory of Moral Sentiments, which is more a philosophy book that he wrote. He attended the University of Glasgow and Oxford. He went on to be a professor himself. But tonight, what we're going to talk about Adam Smith is that he was an advisor to the Whigs of Parliament, specifically someone named William Pitt, or Pitt the Elder, the first Earl of Chatham, who you might know about from other talks about the Revolutionary War. Oh, Mrs. Healy is here. Hello, Mrs. Healy. Say hello to Mr. Healy from Mr. Q and I. It's always a pleasure to have you join us. And I know you know who Adam Smith is. So Adam Smith is interesting because he believed in free trade for the American colonies. He didn't believe in the system of mercantilism. And you might remember that it's that thing called mercantilism that led to all of our problems and eventually our separation from England. So let me show you a couple of quotes from Adam Smith before we go on and talk some more about that. Look at how red my face is from the sun. It's rare that I appear to you without, I have on a little bit of, powder eyeshadow like they would have used. They would have used a burnt clove or a type of coal, maybe just around their eyes, which I used, and a little bit on their eyebrows, and some lip stain. That's all I have on. And you can see how red my face is getting since I don't have had any real makeup tonight. But I thought it would be nice for you to see me without all of that. Okay, so a quote from Mr. Adam Smith. He said, you might like this, government comprises a large part of the organized injustice in any society, ancient or modern. So this is Mr. Adam Smith saying that government, is often a bad thing, that it causes injustice, both in ancient societies and in our modern society. And if you remember Mr. Thomas Paine said similar things to this in Common Sense. Ms. Wetzel says, you look lovely and your skin is amazing. Oh, thank you. I do have on, I do have on a little bit of powder like they would have used in the 18th century, just because I'm a little glossy from sweating, and that kind of makes me not too glossy. You can see a little gloss, but otherwise, this is just my skin that you're seeing in its native form. So thank you for saying that. That's really kind. So he says government is an oppressive thing. It's an organized injustice. So government always commits injustice against the people. So here's Mr. Adam Smith, advisor to the Parliament, saying this about government, the same thing that Thomas Paine would say also in 1776, right, when he writes Common Sense. And he says, that government is this necessary evil, and we always expect it to do bad things to us. But the thing is, he said, Adam Smith says, we want the most government for the least money. And if you're getting the least government for the most money, or no government, like anarchy and chaos for money, well, then you're paying for your own misery. And Adam Smith is saying some of these same things. So you might be surprised. You might not be surprised that Thomas Paine in America would say that, but you might be a little surprised that Adam Smith in England in the Parliament is saying that as well. So let's look at another one of his quotes. Find the next one. Here we go. And this one is, there's no art which government sooner learns of another than that of draining money from the pockets of the people. There we go. I'm trying to move my chair a little bit. The pockets of the people, Adam Smith. So he says the best thing government learns to do is take the people's money. Is that amazing that he would say that in 1776, that the government is the greatest creator of injustice and goes ahead and is really good at draining money from the pockets of the people. So that must have been quite something when he said that in England, although, I'm going to suggest to you that they knew all of this very well and went about doing what they were doing to the colonies anyway. So some words of wisdom from Mr. Adam Smith, that the government takes your money and also is the greatest perpetrator of injustice against you. Now, I mentioned that Mr. Adam Smith did not like mercantilism. He wasn't a supporter. And here, I I just wanted to show you is one of the original title pages of Wealth of Nations. That's certainly not what you get if you were to buy the book today. And you can buy it. It is in print in your time. You can also download it in lots of places. But this would be what the original title page looked like from that original publication, volume 1. There are 5 volumes? I think 5 volumes. Might be more. I think there are 5 volumes. All about different aspects of economy. And he talks about all sorts of aspects in this, how much does it cost to support the monarch? How much does it cost to support the country? How do people make money? He talks about why they have prosperity in the colonies, what's going on in the colonies that's different. And this is when he starts speaking out against the system of mercantilism, which is the way England, treated the colonies. And what is that? What that is, it's a system of maximizing your exports and minimizing what you buy in order to advance your own wealth. So this is what the colonies were like right before the American Revolution, that under the Navigation Acts, we were limited in the things that we could manufacture and the things that we could export. And many things we were required to import from England, even though we could have made them ourselves. So this is a system of mercantilism where England is profiting on having a captive market, the American colonies, for their goods. And this is what leads us partly into the American Revolution, is the resentment of this and the way the colonies are not sharing in this prosperity, that England has great prosperity taking this, but that we are getting nothing in return. My dog Rex says, anarchy, keep your hands to yourself. Piracy is the opposite of anarchy. Well, I think anarchy probably works if people then observe property rights, right? So if you observe property rights and you respect each other's property and you have laws against the destruction or stealing of property, then probably you can have all the freedom that you want or liberty that you want, because maybe all we really need are those property rights. And if people also can maintain self-control. I think I spoke one night about the idea of virtue, and in the 18th century, the concept of virtue being very strong, and that virtuous people control their own behavior, right? See to their own limits of their behavior, so that there doesn't need to be big government and there doesn't need to be what in the 20th century is law enforcement, which does not exist in the 18th century. Police officers don't exist. So it's a self-policing society through virtue and through very strict societal rules of behavior, and also enforcement of property rights. And because of that, there's very little law and very little law over personal behavior in the 18th century, and it works out very well. People have quite a lot of liberty. Now, it's not like that in London in the 18th century. There are quite a lot of laws governing personal behavior. And Mr. Adams spoke about that, and he said the reason for that was that in London they had lost their sense of virtue, that they were people who robbed, who were immoral, who stole, who were sexually profligate, and all of these terrible things, and that as a result of that, they needed laws governing everyone's personal behavior. But he said here in the American colonies, since we govern ourselves through our concept of virtue, we don't need those laws. And he said, as long as we stay that way, we'll be a country of freedom and liberty. But as soon as we fall from that, we as well will have many laws governing personal behavior, because we are not governing ourselves. So a little bit of that debate at the time. Adam Smith is saying the mercantilist system is exploiting the colonies, and that this is going to ultimately lead to resentment and rebellion in the colonies. Instead, he recommended free trade with the colonies, that the colonies should be allowed to trade freely, to make their own things, manufacture their own things, and export them freely, but on British ships, which would then, of course, carry duties or tariffs, and that the duties just on the things the Americans were making and exporting around the world would be far more in wealth and riches than the regressive taxes that England was passing against the colonies, taxes like the ones you remember, the Stamp Act, the Quartering Act, the Sugar Act, and the Tea Act. So Adam Smith's view was that in order to make money, that England didn't need those types of taxes. England only needed to set the colonies free, stop mercantilism, and go to a system of free and open trade. Now, many Whigs in the Parliament agreed with him that there would be much more income coming in from that, except what is the problem with that? The problem with that is that the colonies would grow and become powerful and might one day be more powerful than England. Oh, I have a message from Mr. White. What does he say? There was an excellent article written by Bob Ruppert. It was titled An Economist's Solution to the War, Adam Smith and the Rebelling Colonies. So if you're on YouTube, you can see that. If you're on Facebook, I'll say it again. It's by Bob Ruppert, Ruppert. And the title is An Economist's Solution to the War, Adam Smith and the Rebellion Colonies. Yes, and Adam Smith's arguments are very timely today. You know, we would look at them, or in your time, I should say, very timely in your time, you would look at them and say, well, that makes perfect sense to us. But remember, England is profiting from this mercantilist system, not as much as they could profit from the colonies with free trade, but the exchange then could be the expansion, growth, and economic power of the colonies, which many were afraid of. So that debate is happening. But Adam Smith is going to be advisor to William Pitt, who for many years will be the leader of the Whigs in Parliament. Very powerful, very well-respected man. Pittsburgh is named for him. Pittston is named for him. Anything with Pitt is William Pitt, Pitt the Elder. He visited the colonies many times. And many of colonial cities still have their statues of William Pitt. New York City has a part of their statue, and I think Charleston has their statue, and some of the others might as well. William Pitt was very much loved in the colonies leading up to the Revolutionary War because he came and visited, and he was against the Molasses Sugar Act, he was against the Tea Act, and he was against the Quartering Act and the Stamp Act, and also supported free trade for the colonies. So you can see Adam Smith's influence on Lord Chatham or Mr. Pitt. So he said he had two suggestions to cure the ills with the colonies. And his two suggestions were total independence for the colonies, but the establishment of free trade with the colonies between England and the colonies, and a mutual defense treaty. And that way the colonies could be self-governing on their own, but we would have free trade back and forth and a mutual defense treaty. Nice idea, isn't it? Way ahead of its time, isn't it? And his second idea would be for the colonies to be brought under as a part of Greater Britain, have their own parliament that would send representatives to the British Parliament and be fully represented and recognized in the parliament, with equality of status and, of course, again, free trade. So those were his two suggestions for curing the problems with the colonies. Pretty great suggestions, isn't it? So I want to read you something that he wrote about empires and war. So this is from, I should have written it down. It is from, let me look really quickly, and I could tell you which chapter it's from in Wealth of Nations. It's from the section, I think it's book, it's one of the later books, Chapter 3, it's a section called Of Public Debts. So it's easy for you to find if you just go in Wealth of Nations and search for Of Public Debts. He has a whole section on public debt and specifically on war and maintaining the empire. And in one of those he wrote, and this is wonderful, he says, in great empires, the people who live in the capital and in the provinces remote from the scene of action feel many of them scarce any inconveniency from the war, but enjoy at their ease the amusement of reading in the newspapers the exploits of their own fleets and armies. To them, this amusement compensates the small difference between the taxes which they pay on account of war and those which they had been accustomed to pay in time of peace. They are commonly dissatisfied with the return of peace, which puts an end to their amusement and to 1,000 visionary hopes of conquest and national glory from longer continuance of the war. The return of peace indeed seldom relieves them from the greater part of the taxes imposed during the war. These are mortgaged for the interest of the debt contracted in order to carry it on. Oh, oh, he's here. I don't know if you can see him. Doggy Q is here. Mr. Quintus Maximus just arrived. He's going back and forth under the green screen. Hey, Quinty man, do you want to say hello? Quinty man. Okay, hi. So what he's saying is that the elites in the cities like London think it's wonderful to have these wars of empire abroad. It makes them feel wonderful. They love reading about these victories. They're having their parties, and they only pay a little bit more taxes than they were before, so they're not very worried about it. And then when the war comes to an end, they find themselves disappointed because they no longer have this amusement of war. But he says the reason they're only paying a small difference in taxes during the war is that those debts are leveraged into the future, mortgaged into the future for future generations, right? Your children, your children's children, and on into the future until the debt is finally paid. And he goes on to say that you could never tax people during a war for the true cost of the war, as you would never be able to afford it. You could never raise that much taxes. People could not pay them. So instead, you take loans to pay the war, and you pay off the loans, like, you mortgage the debt, you pay the loans gradually over time. So you're indebting the future generations. That sounds interesting. I bet that sounds interesting to you in your time. It might be applicable to you in 2025. And so the way the colonies can defeat England is because of their debt. So let's talk about England's debt going into the Revolutionary War. England is also terribly in debt, right? That's why we get the Stamp Act and the Quartering Act and the Tea Act to try to help England out of their massive debts as a way out of that. England was so terribly in debt that just prior to the breakout of the American Revolution, Lord North, and I forgot at the time who the money guy was, Chancellor of the Exchequer at the time, actually had to cut down on the size of England's army and navy. So coming into the conflict in the colonies in 1775, they're already at reduced naval and army potential coming in because of their lack of money. And to fight the war against America, they are going to have to incur even more debt. So this is a problem for England going into the war. So it would seem that if we in the colonies could just draw out the war long enough for the financial pain to be so much that England would have to withdraw, that would aid us in being successful in a war against them, wouldn't it? So think about that. In 1776, one of the things that is important for England to do is try to defeat Washington's army at New York. It's of utmost importance to them, strategically, to draw General Washington and his army onto Manhattan Island and use their army and navy to surround him and defeat him there. They're also trying to make a line from Montreal down through the waterways to Manhattan, where they plan to set up a base, and then cut off New England from the other colonies, making a smaller area of a smaller theater of war, right? So that they can move quickly and end the war. They need to end the war quickly because they can't afford a long, protracted war. I have Ms. Elms says, such a relevant conversation for this time, Mrs. Q. Love your talks. Thank you. Well, of course, that's always what I try to do, is relate my time to your time so that you can learn better from my time. Or for those of you who watch me on Sunday nights or listen to me on Sunday nights on Republic Broadcasting Network, where I teach about the Revolutionary War and the way they fought the power, so that in the current time, 2025, we can also learn better to fight the power. And that's Republic Broadcasting Network on Sundays from 9 to 11 o'clock. So part of the reason they want to do this quickly in New York is because they can't afford a long war. They also can't afford for any of their enemies to enter the war on the side of the American colonies and make that war go on for a long time, which they are afraid will happen, which you might recall Mr. Pitt in early 1775 warned them that would happen. Not just Mr. Pitt, others warned as well that their rivals would enter the war on the side of America, either with arms or with financial support or other types of support, because of course, England's enemies don't necessarily love us in the American colonies, but they certainly would like to see England weakened, wouldn't they? They would love to see England weakened. So they're interested in helping us so that that makes England weaker. So it's in France's interest or Holland's interest um, to, or Spain's interest, right, to help us so the war becomes longer and England goes into further debt until the people of England begin to rebel against the war in the colonies. And so that is the way to use empire to defeat the empire. If the empire is overextended, as England was at the start of the Revolutionary War, with problems in China and problems in India, an overextension of their power, a very expensive overextension, and are now facing financial and economic problems in London, then the thing to do is to draw it out as long as possible. And of course, you know, in 1776, they will not trap Washington in New York. I mean, they get a few of their objectives, right? They take Manhattan Island. They do set up their forward base of operation there and on Staten Island. They control the East River and the Long Island Sound for their naval deployments. They control pretty much the entire East Coast for a long time with their Navy. They don't control the Hudson River, so they don't get that, but they don't defeat Washington. This enables Washington's army to move further to the west, to move inland, and for the British to now have to deploy further inland. It costs more money. They need more soldiers. They need more equipment, and it becomes a very expensive venture for them, which eventually defeats them. So that's my talk on how an overextended empire mired in debt that future generations have been saddled with the duty of paying off can easily be defeated by a weaker and smaller opponent. So I hope you all enjoyed that. I'm going to move on pretty quickly tonight because there's a big storm starting here right now. And looks like it's going to be pretty nasty. We've had storm warnings all night. So I'm going to say goodbye a little more earlier than usual before this storm comes in, because I don't know, you know, if our power will go out. It does go out sometimes. We do have a generator, but none of this will be on, is on the generator. So if you have any questions, please ask them. I'll be really happy to address them for you. And I'm always happy to be here. So again, if you're in northeastern Pennsylvania or the southern tier of New York, on Saturday, come out to Riverfest in Kingston and see the 24th Connecticut Militia. Or the 29th will also be at something in Wyoming called First to Fall, where we'll be celebrating or commemorating the beginnings of the Battle of Wyoming. And I'll be talking more about that when July comes around. And also for you in the southern tier of New York, Mrs. Q and the 24th will be at the Battle of Newtown, New York in August. And I'll be telling you about that when it comes up. So thank you all for joining me. Everyone have a wonderful weekend. If you can, check me out Sunday night on Republic Broadcasting Network at 9 p.m. Mrs. Healy, you have a lovely weekend too, you and Mr. Healy, and all of you. It's so kind of you all to join me every week. Please like the video and recommend it to people who are just interested in getting a little taste of the 18th century. So thank you all so much, and I will see you again next week.